I know the Garrison family orchestrated Morris' death, but I want to know every single detail. The process of how they drove him to jump off the building, everyone involved in the process, as well as every turn of events. I must be informed clearly of all these elements. Queen Private Investigator Agency was unexpectedly located in a luxurious manner. Levi would not have believed that place to be a private investigator agency if he wasn't made aware of it in the first place. Once they reached the entrance, the security guards requested them to get out of the car and undergo a thorough security check before they could enter the manor. Azure Dragon whispered. "Sir, I did not reveal our identities." Levi nodded. "Okay." Levi seized the opportunity to size up his surroundings. "This alloy door is custom-made. I think it's bulletproof." These guards are clearly seasoned men. They are unusually calm and collected. I can even sense their menacing aura. Perhaps they are veterans from the battlefield. The guards searched their bodies while wearing a pair of white gloves. They allowed Levi and Azure Dragon to enter only after an exhaustive search. A designated guide led them through a special tunnel after they entered the manor. Both of them arrived at a meeting room after some time. A middle-aged man with neatly combed hair sat on a leather sofa. He held a glass of red wine in his left hand and a cigar in his right. Behind him stood 6 men clad in suits. Their demeanor and presence revealed their competency in combat. Neuve's men were incomparable to these professional bodyguards. Moreover, they were evidently mercenaries judging from their varied skin complexion. "Sir, he is the boss of Queen Private Investigator Agency, Francis Hicks, also known as Mr. Secrets. A lot of wealthy people and celebrities fear him the most," Azure Dragon explained. Francis puffed on his cigar. "Levi Garrison? You're finally released from prison. It is quite a feat for you to be acquainted with Neuve." Levi and Azure Dragon merely stared at him. I guess he is not just an average Joe to be able to obtain that information. But of course, I revealed that piece of information myself. My database is highly confidential and classified. There is only one person in Iridia who has the right to access my database. Levi smiled. "I assume you are aware of my intention here?" "Of course. You want the video of Morris Atkinson's death." Francis returned the smile. "What is your condition then?" Levi asked. "Wonderful. I like dealing with straightforward people like you." Francis placed down his wine glass and raised his hand. 500 million, and the video is yours." Azure Dragon gasped. "It seems to me this Mr. Secrets is a greedy man. 500 million? That's a little expensive." Levi replied nonchalantly. You should know that I risked my precious life to take that video. We are talking about the powerful Garrison family, after all. They can easily annihilate me at any time. This video affects too many parties, aside from the Garrison family. A lot of influential forces will be hunting me if I hand this video to you. So 500 million is a fair amount." Francis complained. What he did not know was that he had revealed a piece of information. Unwittingly. There are other parties involved in Morris' death aside from the Garrison family. Levi leaned closer while maintaining eye contact with Francis. "Aren't you afraid I will seek revenge against you?" Tap, tap, tap. The bodyguards behind Francis moved in at once as they glared at Levi. "I can cripple Levi Garrison with a single command if I want." Francis puffed on his cigar again and sneered. "I know Neuve's power is almost comparable to Jack Jr., but he is just a mere thug at the end of the day. I do not take him seriously, much less you." Francis was a confident man. He could not care less about Neuve. "Haha. You are absolutely right. Neuve is nothing compared to you," Levi said honestly. "Francis Hicks's imposing manner alone is superior to Neuve's." Levi sat on the sofa and poured himself a glass of wine as well. He took a sip and said, "I can tell you firmly, Mr. Secrets. 500 million is not possible. But we can negotiate the price." Francis glanced at Levi. "I am a decisive person. Offer me a price then." Levi did not say a word. He raised his hand as well. Francis was unsettled by that sight. "Are you kidding me? 50 million? That's not possible. I can consider if you offer me 400 million. Levi grinned. "You are mistaken, Mr. Secrets. It's not 50 million. Francis stood up angrily. 5 million? You're outrageous, Levi Garrison. Let me be frank. I do not care about Neuve. You will face the consequences if you infuriate me." Levi patted Francis's shoulder. "Calm down, Mr. Secrets. I am a sensible person. So how would I offer you 5 million? Francis's expression softened visibly. He assumed Levi was making a joke earlier. But Levi's subsequent clarification shocked him to his core. I'm offering you 5. The atmosphere inside the meeting room reached its boiling point afterward. Bam! Francis slammed the table and yelled at Levi furiously. Are you fucking kidding me? I'll kill you. Crack crack crack. The 6 bodyguards behind Francis Hicks drew their bayonets in just a split second. Tap tap tap. At the same time, the door to the meeting room swung open. Over 30 men rushed into the room. A total of 40 men surrounded Levi and Azure Dragon, leaving them with no room to escape. Every one of these bodyguards is highly skilled and proficient in combat. Francis looked at Levi mockingly. Have you never heard of me from Nuve? No one in the entire Northampton has the guts to lay a finger on me. Even the most powerful mafia boss, Jack Smith, has to pay respect to me. So how dare a nobody like you dares to make fun of me? You must be tired of living. Francis was burning with rage. Levi was unfazed. I am not making fun of you. I am sincere in doing business with you. 5 is more than enough to pay for the video. Francis Hicks and his bodyguards were engulfed by wrath after listening to Levi's words. He wants to buy the invaluable video with only 5? Is he dreaming? Francis asked Levi. Are you serious? I have never been more serious my entire life. I will pay you 5 for the video. Levi nodded. Then I should be serious as well. You can either buy that video from me for 500 million or let me chop off your arms. Make the decision yourself. Francis panted heavily in anger. However, both Levi and Azure Dragon burst with laughter after listening to his threat. Francis and his bodyguards were dumbfounded by their reaction. Do you really think you can leave this place unscathed? Francis put on a wicked smile. Do you know how I established my influence in this city? These bodyguards are the pillars of my success. Let me be honest with you. They are all mercenaries and veterans from the battlefield. All of them participated in wars and killed over 10 people. Their combat abilities far exceed Nuve's men. No one dares to harm me because of them. Not even Jack Smith himself. I've spent millions to nurture each of these bodyguards and spend over 10 million on them every year. Francis roared in Levi's direction. Who are you to compete with me? Do you think you can fight against me with Nuve's support? What a joke. Based on Azure Dragon's investigation, Francis Hicks is telling the truth. No one in Northampton dares to lay a finger on him, despite being just an owner of a private investigator agency. His bodyguards do overpower the underworld forces in this city. Are you done blabbering? Levi asked casually. Get them, Francis commanded in rage. But at that moment, they saw Azure Dragon slowly removing his clothes beside Levi. Thunk. Everyone was stunned after Azure Dragon removed his singlet. What they saw was a staggering amount of horrible scars covering every inch of his skin. The bodyguards were war veterans. So they were aware of the cause of the scars. Most are bullet wounds. Some are scars left behind from flying shrapnel, and the corroded areas of the skin are caused by chemical weapons. Even people who experienced the battlefield like them could not imagine a person sustaining so many injuries that left so many scars on their bodies. These wounds are only present on those godlike beings on war zones. They must have participated in thousands of wars to accumulate those scars. The bodyguards were certain that Azure Dragon was a soldier as well. A legendary soldier nonetheless. Francis was caught in perplexity when he noticed the terrified expressions on his bodyguards' faces. But he yelled at the same time. What are you doing? Are you afraid? You are frightened by the sight of a few scars? Take him down, and I will reward the person who did it with 1 million. Finally, one of the bodyguards rushed forward with his bayonet after the order was given. Bam! Azure Dragon kicked that bodyguard and sent him flying backward. He crashed against the wall and remained on the ground with his body twitching. Gang up on him. All of the bodyguards closed in on Azure Dragon simultaneously. Thump thump thump. Ugh. Wails of pain reverberated inside the room. A few moments later, only Azure Dragon and Francis remained standing inside the meeting room while Levi sat unmoving on the couch. All 40 bodyguards were lying on the ground, covered in their own blood. The scene was a grotesque sight to behold. Francis was petrified. He scanned his surroundings in utter disbelief. The King of War from the 5 Great Wars Regiment of Iridia, Azure Dragon, and the God of War of Iridia. The mercenaries lying on the ground finally recognized Levi and Azure Dragon since they once crossed paths with each other on the battlefield. The God of War's legendary achievements was spread throughout all war zones and battlefields for an extended period of time. The mercenaries worshipped Levi as their god whenever they go to war. Placing faith in the god of war provides them with hope. Now, the bodyguards were kneeling before Levi, worshipping him after recognizing him for who he was. God. God of war, the legendary god of war. Mr. Secret's profession was to collect intelligence and exclusive information. So he knew about the god of war's arrival in Northampton. Francis was even in the know of many details compared to others. He grasped the situation immediately after listening to his bodyguards. They are the god of war and Azure Dragon in person. Can we discuss the price now? Levi swirled the wine in his glass around. Thump. Francis groveled at Levi's feet and begged for mercy frantically. It's my fault for failing to recognize the almighty god of war. Please spare my life. I beg you. Thump thump thump. Francis slammed his forehead against the floor continuously to express his sincerity. Levi scoffed. What do I need your life for? I only need the video. I will give you the video, sir. I will give you anything you want. Francis was scared out of his wits. I will pay you 5 as promised. Levi said. Azure Dragon took out the money from his pocket and tossed it in Francis's face. You don't have to pay me, sir. Francis forced a hideous smile. Just take it. Levi raised his tone. Francis kept the 5 in his pocket obediently and swiftly handed the USB drive containing the video to Levi. Play it. Francis hurriedly played the video on the screen after receiving the order. Soon, a footage was shown on the screen. The background was the rooftop of Levi Group's building. A lot of people were there, and they were divided into 3 parties. Morris Atkinson was by himself. The other party was the Garrison family. Namely Brian, Victoria, Ashton, Lionel, and Tammy. While the last party consists of a few youngsters, including Philip Hardy, Kit Page, Misty Dennis and Holly Nelson. Those youngsters were Morris' close friends. Holly Nelson was Morris' love interest as he had been pursuing her. In the past, Holly promised to become Morris' girlfriend officially after Levi's wedding. He was his groomsman while she was Zoe's bridesmaid. The rest of the video was easy to comprehend. The Garrison family threatened Morris to jump off the building. Otherwise, they would kill Holly and the others. They also mentioned about harming Mr. and Mrs. Atkinsons. Morris had no other choice but to fulfill their wish in order to protect his parents, lover, and friends. But Holly and the 3 other people smiled cheerfully after Morris leaped off the rooftop. I see. So they conspired with the Garrison family since the very beginning to force Morris to jump off the building. The Garrison family easily took control of Levi Group once Morris was gone. Levi grimaced after he finished the video. The temperature inside the room seemed to have dropped below freezing point. Francis could not help but shuddered. This man in front of me is too scary. His wrath will bring countless deaths. Let me explain to you, sir. Holly Nelson and the others joined forces with the Garrison family to set Mr. Morris up. After his death, Holly Nelson received benefits from the Garrison family. She is now the president of Star Entertainment. Mr. Morris' close friends received promotions as well. They now managed a company of their own, respectively. They are responsible for Mr. Morris' defamation and they are the ones that leaked the falsified information about him to the public. Francis offered. Crack. Francis stared in horror as Levi crushed the wine glass in his hands as it shattered into pieces. All of them must die. The words slipped through Levi's gritted teeth. Francis's legs wobbled. He fell onto the ground on his knees. Let's go. We are visiting Holly Nelson tomorrow, Levi ordered. Then he exited the place with Azure Dragon. Francis knelt on the floor for a long time even after the both of them had left. His body was drenched in cold sweat. I agreed to Jack Smith's request when he contacted me 2 days ago. He wanted me to tag along to Morris Atkinson's grave to intimidate Nuve and Levi Garrison. I will not accept that request now, even if I have 1,000 lives to spare. Levi Garrison is the legendary god of war. Now I understand why the only piece of information I could obtain about Levi Garrison during his imprisonment was that he went to the same prison as Nuve. That's because he left the prison a long time ago. His profile is now classified and protected by the army. Levi and Azure Dragon arrived at a manor afterward. It was the place Azure Dragon and the others were staying in. The 4 women are all here, sir. Azure Dragon whispered. All right. Bring them in, Levi ordered. He scanned through the women's profile on the couch. These women are executives in large corporations nominally. But they are, in fact, professional mistresses. Their profession requires them to seduce influential and highly ranked figures and become their mistresses. Once they have successfully established that status, they will deliberately leave pieces of evidence to spread the news of their infidelity and indirectly ruin these influential figures' reputations. Morris' case is a perfect example. All of them tried to get close to him before his death. They purposefully allowed the paparazzi to capture photos of them together. After the fake news was released, the pictures of them entering hotels as a couple became solid evidence to back their identity as Morris mistresses. This is their job description, and they are usually paid handsomely after completing their tasks. The 4 women entered the room after a short while. Their appearance, demeanor, and temperament were completely different from the girls in nightclubs. They gave off an aura of a woman with professional career. All of them eyed Levi arrogantly. Levi compared their faces according to their profiles in his hand. Nicole, Gina, Tasha, and Sasha. Who are you? Why did you bring us here? Nicole and the others glared at Levi. Perhaps all of you can no longer recognize me. Let me introduce myself. I am Levi Garrison. What? Levi Garrison? All 4 women's faces fell when they heard that. Don't be nervous. I am only here to clarify something with you. What happened to my best friend, Morris Atkinson, 6 years ago? They were startled as Levi raised his tone on purpose. I will let all of you leave unharmed if you confess the truth. Levi stared at them. Nicole and the other girls exchanged glances before they responded. What? Everything about him was reported in the news, and that was the truth. He brought that on himself. What do we have to do with that matter? Let us go immediately. Otherwise, you will face the repercussions. Levi smiled. But your professions are clearly stated here on your profile. See? You are slandering us. We did not do that. Morris Atkinson lied to us. Moreover, what's wrong with us staying with him if he's single? That useless piece of shit brought that on himself. We've got nothing to do with his death. That's right. Let us go now. Otherwise, you will receive a similar fate, Levi Garrison. Nicole and the others threatened him. They were not afraid of Levi because they had someone supporting them. So, you are not confessing? Levi asked. We are not telling you anything. There is nothing to tell anyway. Nicole said in a pompous manner. Tap. Levi did not speak further. He placed a gun and a few bullets on the tabletop. All the colors drained from all 4 women's faces simultaneously. Do bear in mind that I have limited patience. Levi stared at them coldly. Nicole crossed her arms in front of her chest and sneered. You are not scaring anyone now. What are you going to do? Kill us? We have a powerful figure backing us. Does he think we are some immature young girls? We know he is. Just trying to intimidate us. So there is no reason to be afraid at all. Levi kept quiet. He disassembled a bullet and poured the gunpowder on the tabletop. Then he lit the gunpowder with a match. Whoosh! Burning flame erupted as the heat washed over the women. Arg! They stepped backward startlingly because they were afraid of getting burned.